On March 21, 2025, the United States unveiled its most advanced fighter jet, the F-47, during a high-profile briefing. When President Donald Trump concluded his unusual 47-minute speech, the key takeaway was clear. The U.S. sixth-generation aircraft would be built by the world's oldest aviation manufacturer, Boeing, the largest aerospace company on the planet and a leader in both civilian and military aircraft. Boeing had won the contract. Industry experts have expressed mixed reactions, with some enthusiasts ignoring public skepticism, while others worry about the true capabilities of the U.S. sixth-generation fighter. In this segment of Big Game Briefing, your late autumn orange cat, will continue discussing America's sixth-generation machine and explore how the U.S. plans to integrate it with existing systems. This has not been an easy topic to research, and even putting this video together was a challenge. If you enjoy this kind of content, remember to like and follow. It really helps. Before diving deeper, let's revisit the press conference and the aircraft itself. The event, hosted by Trump, was essentially the official presentation of the U.S. Air Force's NGAD, Next Generation Air Dominance Program. This was the fourth major iteration of NGAD, revealed during Trump's second term, and reportedly builds on decisions made during his earlier presidency 5 years ago. The Air Force Chief of Staff announced that the first operational F-47s would be available for sale in 2029. Coincidentally, or perhaps not, the timing aligns with the next presidential term. When considering the U.S. defense industry, there are essentially three companies capable of leading such a project: Boeing, Northrop Grumman, here referred to as Roche, and Lockheed Martin. Northrop is responsible for the B-21 bomber. Lockheed Martin produces the F-35 and has also been involved in NGAD development, and Boeing now carries the F-47 program forward. So, what does this mean for the Air Force's future? Let's first examine the only two official images released so far. They reveal little. The angles are nearly identical, showing only the front half of the aircraft without any detailed specifications or actual prototype photos. Instead, we've been given two almost identical renderings, making it impossible to determine even the number of engines. Still, we can extract some insights. The nose gear features a single wheel, which strongly suggests the F-47 will not be a very large aircraft. Why? Historically, high-performance jets with heavy maximum takeoff weights often require dual-wheel nose gear to handle the load. For example, Soviet aircraft such as the Su-30, Su-33, Su-35, J-15, and J-16 all moved from single to dual-wheel configurations as their weight increased. Aircraft like the Su-34 bomber and MiG-31 interceptor, both weighing over 22 tons empty and exceeding 45 tons at maximum takeoff, use dual nose wheels. Even the American F-111, weighing about 21.5 tons empty and 45 tons fully loaded, followed this pattern. Aviation history shows that it's rare for aircraft above 30 tons maximum takeoff weight to retain single-wheel nose gear, and above 40 tons it's practically unheard of. This means that unless Boeing has made radical design choices, or the US intends the F-47 for extremely specialized missions, it's reasonable to expect its maximum takeoff weight to remain under 30 tons. It might not even have more metal than the old F-82. Still, during the press conference, Trump insisted the new jet would cost less than the F-22, while boasting greater range and more advanced stealth technology. But honestly, maybe it's best to keep expectations in check. The U.S. Air Force hasn't talked about the Junmao aircraft in quite some time. The NGAD program is massive and extremely expensive, pushing the limits of the Air Force's budget. That's why the program now appears to be shifting toward developing a smaller, more affordable sixth-generation fighter. Of course, my own assessment here may sound overly strict. Perhaps Boeing has indeed built a single nose-wheel aircraft weighing over 40 tons, though this could simply be a temporary test platform, a stripped-down demonstrator without all the production tech. Still, from a purely technical perspective, it's impressive. Covering U.S. military developments isn't easy. Sometimes I stay up late waiting for press conferences or official announcements, only to be left with vague details. The irregular hours are exhausting. My work schedule has become chaotic. I feel drowsy after just half an hour of work in the daytime, and even light exercise leaves me with chest tightness and shortness of breath. After a checkup, my doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong. Still, something felt off. A friend recommended squalene, explaining that my symptoms could be early signs of cerebral hypoxia. Squalene, naturally found in deep-sea shark liver, is known for delivering oxygen to cells and helping the body use it more efficiently. The Aviation brand produces squalene supplements enriched with soy lecithin, no fishy smell at all. This combination not only oxygenates cells but also boosts overall body and brain performance. I started a trial, taking 2 capsules a day, morning and night, not entirely convinced. But after a month or two, the changes were undeniable. I was sleeping earlier, feeling energized during the day, and the fatigue had disappeared. Aviation has been around for 71 years, and its squalene capsules contain up to 99% pure active content. The emulsions are smooth, taste faintly like soy milk, and because their molecular structure is similar to natural skin oils, the absorption rate is maximized. For anyone with irregular schedules, long sitting hours, or too much takeout, daily use can restore strength and eliminate fatigue. Even my blood oxygen levels improved. And if you're dealing with long-term work stress that's showing on your face, Aviation also offers deep-sea fish collagen powder, sourced only from the skin of deep-sea fish, the purest ingredient. Collagen is key for healthy skin, and this one is extremely fine. Just 1,000 Daltons, making it highly absorbable. Taken regularly, it can smooth fine lines, improve skin firmness and elasticity, reduce moisture loss, and keep skin hydrated even in dry environments. This product embodies decades of marine biotechnology, turning the ocean's natural bounty into a shield for health and beauty. Click the link below to lock in this youthful boost for your cells. Now, back to the F-47. It's already airborne, so what more is there to say? Well, for one, it features a flattened diamond-shaped nose and a bubble canopy reminiscent of the S-7 fighter. Its design also seems closely related to the YF-118G Bird of Prey, a rather dramatic experimental aircraft from decades past. At the time, its manufacturer proudly claimed a radar cross-section of -70 decibels square meters, though without clarifying the frequency band or angle of measurement. There were also persistent rumors of its disastrous flight performance. In fact, one test pilot reportedly resigned on the spot, saying simply, "I don't want to die." The question now is, can Boeing, or any modern contractor, recreate that kind of technological miracle in today's aerospace environment? Let's wait and see what the real purpose is. There are essentially 2 possible reasons for the F-47's orange cat fade. One is the pursuit of a flatter airframe to improve lateral stealth performance, something most people can understand. Another is that, like the S-7 fighter, it could be designed with side-by-side seating. That might sound odd for an aircraft roughly the size of an F-2, but it's not entirely impossible. If you don't believe me, just look at some of the US Navy's early 1A6B predecessors. Those cockpits were about the size of a mahjong table. Even if the F-47 ends up being about the size of an F-82, 2 pilots could still sit shoulder to shoulder without much trouble. However, the most striking and controversial feature is that the F-47 appears to adopt a suppressed layout, a design approach that runs counter to much of modern stealth philosophy. If this is indeed a deliberate choice, perhaps we should congratulate the US for being the first to prepare for a very unusual design trend. Critics might say, "Orange Cat, you're just bashing the US military again. What's wrong with suppression?" Well, here's my counter. The purpose of such suppression in airframe design is usually to control airflow and enhance lift through vortex generation. By shaping and positioning the surfaces in a certain way, engineers can induce powerful vortices that energize the airflow over the wing, delay stall, and improve overall lift. In some cases, this involves nearly 20% of the downwash being unseated from the supporting body, coupling with multi-vortex flows from the wing root and nose, and creating a concentrated aerodynamic nest. The result is better lift performance, altered drag characteristics, and, depending on wing geometry, stronger stall resistance and maneuverability. The F-47's second notable design feature is easier to explain. Large, continuous leading-edge extensions, LEX, running up to the nose. NASA research shows that such surfaces can dramatically improve high angle of attack performance, but when made this large, they can also create complex vortex patterns, increasing drag and producing unpredictable shear forces. This could require additional trim surfaces and might slow the roll rate due to uneven side forces. On the upside, these extensions can delay stall, enhance agility, and, in a stealth context, reduce radar returns from certain angles. They may also help compensate for the removal of vertical tails, improving aerodynamic continuity and radar signature control. Still, there are trade-offs. From a stealth perspective, small surface structures, such as pronounced suppression elements, are a weakness against long-wave anti-stealth radars. Such radars, with wavelengths up to 30 centimeters, can interact strongly with small protrusions, making the aircraft more detectable. In a truly full-spectrum stealth design, engineers try to minimize such small structures, integrate sensors like EOTS smoothly into the fuselage, and keep the airframe as continuous and featureless as possible. If the F-47's designers are aiming for full-band stealth, suppression features and discontinuous surfaces may be counterproductive. On the other hand, if they have prioritized other performance factors over absolute stealth, this design could make sense. But it suggests the F-47 may not be optimized for total stealth dominance across all radar bands. By that time, Boeing might be the first to turn suppression into full transparency. If so, maybe even Le Dabo could stay invisible for quite a while. But if we keep following this line of thought, let's imagine the worst-case scenario. Right now, the rear half of the F-47's fuselage hasn't been shown. Could it have a vertical tail after all? Overall, from the leaked information so far, the F-47 still seems to be designed as a serious fighter jet, with real considerations for maneuverability and some degree of stealth. That said, under certain conditions, sacrificing a few capabilities is inevitable. Still, there are notable points worth mentioning. It's not as if Wang Chuan is completely useless. Let me throw in a question. When was the last time a completely new fighter was developed? Which program was it? Ah, yes, the JSF. Could the F-47's development path look the same? Hopefully it won't stay like that for long. It's too ugly, to be honest. Actually, all of this still comes back to the suppression topic. There's something here that's almost comical. Before March 21st, 2025, what were the official US comments on China's J-20? That it was suppressed and not truly stealthy. That it was just a copy of the MiG-144. But after the Trump Development Conference on March 21st, 2025, and the official unveiling of the F-47, suddenly the J-20 became a success story. Even people who criticized it before were now praising it, saying things like, if the J-20 can manage stealth despite suppression, so can the F-47. Some even went so far as to call the J-20 the godfather of the F-47. The Orange Cat couldn't resist laughing at that. To be fair, if you really want to find a parent for the F-47, the J-20 is definitely not it. The J-20's philosophy is rooted in a completely different design lineage. Anyway, back to the main point. This leads to a real question. If you strip away everything but pure stealth, will the aircraft still be maneuverable? In other words, can a flying wing layout actually improve maneuverability? After all, the common consensus online is that flying wings are poor at agility. If you don't believe that, just watch a B-2 Spirit land, taxi onto the runway, and make a slow turn for another pass. It's hardly acrobatic. To solve this, the S-7 incorporated suppression features specifically to ensure agility. Other countries on their flying wing aircraft didn't add these features, but those planes were strategic bombers, not fighters. So comparing them directly is misleading. And this isn't just internet speculation. At the press conference, the Sichuan University Lin Tong Yuku Research Institute even declared that the F-47 would be the world's first sixth-generation manned fighter jet. Maybe this is the heart of the issue. To answer the maneuverability question, we first need a quick breakdown of what maneuverability really means. We can divide an aircraft's basic movements into three axes. Roll, rotating the fuselage left and right around its longitudinal axis. Pitch, raising and lowering the nose. Yaw, deflecting the aircraft's heading left or right. Every aerial maneuver is built from combinations of these three basic motions, from half-barrel rolls to J-turns to more complex coracoid maneuvers. For example, take a typical third-generation fighter like the FL-5. When performing a roll, it relies on ailerons producing differential lift. If the left aileron deflects upward and the right deflects downward by the same angle, lift decreases on the left wing and increases on the right wing, creating a rolling moment. This allows the aircraft to rotate about its longitudinal axis, essentially controlling roll by changing the lift difference between wings. From this, we can see that changing to a radically different layout, like a flying wing, has relatively little effect on roll. The principle is still similar. Pitch and yaw, however, are more complex. Pitch control in a conventional fighter comes from the horizontal tailplane, which sits behind the wing. Deflecting the tailplane downward increases lift on the tail, pushing it down and raising the nose, like balancing a seesaw in the sky. That's the aerodynamic chicken head lift principle in its simplest form.